unless you run like Phoebe from Friends or you're constantly injured, you've probably never given your running technique that much thought. The general consensus is if you train hard, you're consistent, well, you will improve. And that will get you so far. However, your technique could be holding you back. And you want to know the best way to find out? We can go and get a running gait analysis. I'll be honest with you guys, I am a little bit nervous about going for a gait analysis because I'm going to have my gait looked at from all angles by an expert, but also you guys, and probably in slow motion too. Well, the thing is about a gait analysis, it's obviously designed to show any weaknesses you might have, and it also potentially can highlight issues that you might not even be aware of. Well, thanks to race photos, I know that my running form is far from perfect, so I'm going in there with a little bit of an idea of what I might expect to see or come out with. Well, hopefully at the end of this, there'll be lots of areas for improvement for me, but also things that you can identify at home and go and work on. And for that, I'm most certainly going to need an expert. I've come to see Sophie Gover, a running gait specialist. After a verbal consultation, she's putting me through an array of physical tests, and all of this before I even step foot on the treadmill. What sort of common issues do you see, or when do people coming here, like what might their problems be?
So we're looking for different strengths or weaknesses that might show up in particular muscle groups, and you can often see if an injury, even previous injuries, your body adapts really quickly to something that's happened even ages ago. Yeah. So you've probably learned to move in a different way because of that. So we usually see it in testing, in the way you're moving, and perhaps actually the strength in one particular muscle is still quite limited. And then we usually see it within the movement of running as well, because you've learned to adapt and change your gaits.
So on that note, is there anything that people, who are watching this and they're at home and they're like, oh, I want to know if I've got any weaknesses? Is there anything that they can do themselves without needing sort of a therapist, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, you probably want a mirror. Looking in front of a mirror is quite a good one. So just doing that one leg at a time. Yeah. Single leg squat, doesn't need to be massive, but just looking at the angle of your knee. Like, is it straight or is it actually coming in towards the other knee, which is a good sign of needing a bit more strength around the hip and the glute.
From mine, what have you anything in particular you've noticed so far, or and what are you maybe expecting to see when we get on the treadmill?
Yeah, so perhaps looking at your feet a bit more closely, see where you're landing, see if you're using your feet effectively. Okay. We're going to look at your hips because you've mentioned a bit of a history of something happening there. So we'll measure your hip drop. And see what's going on.
Okay, but nothing glaring.
Nothing
just yet.
too obvious at the moment.
Okay, I think that's good then. Cool, well, I'll wait and see.
Okay.
As you guys are probably aware, I have got a big race coming up. I've started swim training, I've been to the wind tunnel, and I've had a bike fit, so it's only fair that I give my running a little extra attention. I know what I think my issues are, but I'm going to keep quiet and let Sophie and the computer software reveal all. Now, if you've got loads of time, you could potentially actually do this barefoot first, but we're a little bit tight for time today, so I'm going to be just starting in the Cloud Eclipse, which is the shoe that I do most of my training runs in at the moment. And then hopefully at the end of that, we'll have a chance to do another version with the carbon shoes, see if there's any difference. All right, I'm dotted up, about to jump on the treadmill. What pace have I got to run at?
So if you're perhaps training for a race, we're going to try and mimic that almost race pace, just so we can
I'm glad I'm not training for a 5K, that's all I can say.
So you'll go maybe just below your 70.3, so you're on half marathon pace. So we'll go just below that and see what's happening when you're doing that and what's going on in your gait. Okay?
That sounds good.
So if you're running...
Aiming for around 4:30, I think.
4:30 per kilometre. Okay.
On a good day.
So we're going to look at going up to about 13 on here if you're comfortable.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So we'll let you warm up and get going, and then start some filming.
It took just 10 minutes of running in my training shoe at my 70.3 pace for Sophie to obtain all the required data. It was then time for an upgrade to my race shoes, the On Cloud Boom Strike. Once all the sticky dots were in place, it was time for another 10 minutes back on the treadmill. Okay, hard work done from my side. Now it's just the nervous wait while Sophie crunches the numbers, and she's going to come at me with the hard truth in a moment. All right, Sophie, you've been working hard at the numbers. I'm seeing some red and some yellow and things on here. Can you just give me a sort of overall, I guess, your interpretation of these numbers, of what is highlighted for me?
Okay, so overall looking pretty good. The main flag is this mid-stance phase. So looking at the back view of you. Okay, so we can few things here. So the left side predominantly, so when your weight is on your left foot, we can see that the hip drop is a little bit higher, so a little bit borderline there, something that you could probably work on. And your trunk as well, you can see also accommodating for that instability around the hip.
That doesn't surprise me. And I think that would have been a lot worse if you'd seen me about a year ago as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's something that's improving. But I'm not surprised.
And we picked up on that as kind of in your strength work, your kind of ongoing issue with that hip. So definitely something to work on. That also does translate surprisingly down to your foot. So you can see actually some overpronation on that foot and the rolling on that side. So often that happens, a bit of weakness around that hip means we do see that further down the chain. Yeah. Right side from the back, definitely looking a bit better. So definitely more stable on that hip. All looking good from the front. You can see the hip drop from that angle, but knees nicely in line with the toes, not tracking away from the midline at all. The push-off phase on the back, again, perhaps something we could improve a little bit more flexion at the ankle would be better. So you could achieve slightly better propulsion.
Would that make my stride longer, or is that if my stride's short? Like, what exactly, how do I translate this information, if that makes sense? So my ankle's overflexing or underflexing?
Underflexing. Okay. So it could go a little bit more, so you could extend fully. So that's actually being able to engage your hamstring and that posterior chain. Okay, so hamstrings and glutes, and actually having good ankle stiffness to be able to push off. Yeah.
Okay, that's something that I've never even thought about or looked at, so that's interesting.
And that's all looking good. So the initial contact phase is fine, no overstride, your knee is at a good angle and not too straight, and so is your foot, which means you're landing nicely on the midfoot and using it well, using those muscles in the sole of your foot to really propel you forward.
So I'm curious, originally I just wanted to come for a gait analysis, but obviously we had time to do the carbon shoe.
Yeah.
Is there any different? Because I feel very different when I'm running in them, but I can't really work out what's different.
Yeah. Surprisingly, actually, you look like you run a bit better in the carbon shoes. There's slightly less of that hip drop that we're seeing.
Why is that surprising?
Because often you see that people don't have quite the strength to do them justice. So they don't support your foot placement quite as well as a normal shoe. So often we see more of that pronation and more of the hips having to pick up a lot of that slack. But actually yours is looking marginally better using the shoe.
We don't really know why.
We don't really know why, but perhaps it's something to do with the shoe stiffness and actually you being able to use it well, so the strength in your calf actually.
I don't train in them, so, it's I find that's really interesting. And anything else different between the two?
There is... it's actually looking better in the calf. So a lot of the time that mid-stance phase and that sink and that ground contact time, we don't want that long ground contact time. We want to be able to come off that quickly. That's where we're losing energy. But actually that's looking good in your carbon shoe. There's less of a sink, less of a knee over toe at that mid-stance, and you're coming through quite quickly and using the spring in the shoe effectively. Might be different if you are tireder. That's often when you see. problems.
I mean, do you ever test people? Like, I guess you can't really test them because they'd be on the treadmill for hours and it'd be taking up your time. But
people often say, like, oh, is it okay if I do my session and then come over? And I actually say, you know, that's perfect because training, you know, looking at you in a fatigued state is really helpful because that's often when we pick up our injuries and we can see things going wrong.
And what would you generally, I know you said it's surprising and because I'm sort of better in the carbon shoes per se, but if you saw someone just in carbon shoes, what are the types of things that might be flagged more in a carbon shoe than a training shoe?
Yeah, mostly foot placement and anything more up into the calf. So it's that over-pronation you often get because the shoe just doesn't stabilise your foot quite so well. So you get that dropping in and that's kind of the knees following and the hips dropping to make up for what's happening down below. And you get a massive knock-on effect, which is not so good.
And that probably leads me to sort of, I guess, wrap it up with what do I do about this? I think I know, but what should I take away from all these numbers and results that you've just shared with me?
Yeah, so what you want to do is focus on a few things. So we can recommend some strength training around those hips, so particularly getting that left side up to scratch with the right side, just to keep you nice and balanced. Probably a little bit of work on the calves. Plyometric work is good, especially if you're wearing carbon shoes, because you want the stiffness through those ankles and tendons in the foot to be able to push off and do them. Do those shoes justice, really, because when you fatigue, that's where you start to struggle.
Yeah. Now, I found this really fascinating, so thank you so much for your time. But before I let you go, what would you say to someone watching this video, like who's thinking about a gait analysis? What are the main reasons that you think people should come to one? Is it because if they're injured? Is it because they're just trying to find more out of their running? I guess sell gait analysis in a sense. Like
two main points to take away from this. So people come for just performance improvements because what we're doing is looking at entire body mechanics in relation to form and efficiency, and from that we can just make performance gains. But a big area is injuries. People do come with injuries, so we can look at injury prevention, but also injury cure. You can modify your running gaits in order to avoid injured tissue. So you can change where the forces are going by modifying your gait. And you can actually recover quite well like that and continue training around an injury, which is quite helpful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be booking up their gait analysis off the back of this one. Well, thanks so much for your time. I know I've got some work to go and do.
Thank you.
I'm usually of the opinion that if it's not broken, don't fix it. But when it comes to your running gait, you might be able to find some extra seconds almost for free without doing any hard training sessions. What is not to like about that? Well, hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've learned lots. I'm hoping you guys have too. If you've enjoyed it, well, do give us some support by hitting the like button. And a big thanks to Sophie for her time as well.